All right, back to work. Party's over. Break time's over. We got a big day coming tomorrow. This week is just getting warmed up. It's Tuesday evening. It's the 19th day of April, 2022. My name is Joseph, and as always, welcome back to your nightly newsletter. Now, if you're watching for the first time tonight, it is great to have you with me if you're tuning in for the first time. My job tonight is to help us find the best trades, setting up for Wednesday's trading session. Not just any Wednesday. Got a bunch of news tomorrow. Got a bunch of Fed speakers tomorrow. Got a lot of great trades setting up for tomorrow. Boy, we got some big moves on the charts today. I'm going to cover all my favorite trades in tonight's video. The charts are already in the background, as you can see. Got the oil, got the Nasdaq. Oh, we got the S&P. Always got the E-mini locked and loaded. Can't wait for tomorrow. Boy, I'll tell you, big moves on the charts today. Anytime we see big moves, we know there's potential for some big follow-up trades the following day. I am very excited for Wednesday's trading session. Again, I'm going to cover all my favorite trades in tonight's video. That way you have a roadmap to make some money tomorrow. I'll also talk about, some stuff to avoid to keep yourself out of trouble just in case you're not trading with us tomorrow in our trade room. Now, I have a lot we're going to cover in tonight's video. So before we jump in though, I just want to make sure to remind you, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. I publish all my best trade ideas every evening on this video. So make sure you subscribe and make sure you hit those little notification bell, right? That we always get notified every time I publish something new. Also, if you guys have any questions for me tonight, drop those questions in the comments section. I'll get those questions answered once we're finished up here this evening. And if you enjoy this video, if you tune in every evening, hit that like button for me. I appreciate you guys tuning in and supporting this YouTube channel. But enough of the intro though, right? Let's get ready for Wednesday. Wednesday is looking really, really good here right now. From what we saw today, I'll tell you should be excited for Wednesday's trading session. By the time we're done tonight, you'll see why I'm so excited for Hump Day's trading session. What's going on here on the charts here right now? Well, I'll tell you, we had a big move down on crude oil today. Not a huge surprise, not a huge surprise. If you watched last night's video, we talked about the pendulum swing coming off of that high. So, it went a little bit further than I thought it would, but obviously nice big rotation off the high. Very bearish on the oil right now. There are really two key scenarios that you need to be aware of on oil for tomorrow. You know what? Let's say three. Probably one. I'll toss in one bonus, one more kind of advanced tactic that we'll talk about here on crude oil. Anytime I see a really big move in one day, there's two definite trades I look for the following day. We're going to talk about those. I'll give you one bonus there as well. Over on the NASDAQ and S&P look very similar right now, right? Very similar as they rotate. We had that big move up into a range. And now, boy, I'll tell you, the S&P and the NASDAQ, they remind me of the oil market last night. If you watched last night's video, we talked about how the oil rolling off the high. Yeah, see what's happening right now in the S&P NASDAQ, rolling off the high. We call that rotation off the high. So I'll tell you, there are some really nice reversal setups we're watching for right now. And on the NASDAQ definitely, it's very bullish right now, obviously, but the NASDAQ definitely has potential for a breakout. S&P has a lot better potential for a breakout going higher. So we'll talk about the long side. We'll talk about the short side because the short side really does look pretty exciting for the E-mini and the NASDAQ, and we'll definitely talk about the short side here on crude oil here tonight. Now, before we jump in and get this thing going tonight on each individual chart, again, I'm going to cover all my favorite trades on the charts tonight. Before we jump in, though, let's just make sure we're all on the same page tomorrow because there is a ton going on here tomorrow. First of all, we have a couple scheduled news reports, as you can see. We have the home sales number at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. That is definitely something I'll be watching here tomorrow. We saw the housing starts number today look very, very promising. Housing starts still holding up pretty well. Remember, housing starts are a good kind of medium to long-term economic health indicator. Because it's the housing starts, it takes a while to build that house. Tomorrow, we're going to really see, and I mentioned this earlier this week, tomorrow we're really going to see how much inflation, how much the higher rates, how much, right, will that start chipping into the existing home sales numbers. That you have to think is going to be a big potential market moving event here tomorrow. And then, of course, oil, right, the oil report at 10:30, the weekly oil report every Wednesday at 10:30. They there are rumors going around that we have another kind of block of Russian oil coming out of the EU at some point this week. Maybe it's tomorrow. Big move down today on the oil. You know, even though Russian oil does not really represent a big chunk of the global oil supply, you know, the perception of that supply may be affected by any headlines tomorrow around that report here. So we'll see if we get that tomorrow, right? That's kind of a known unknown. There's been a bunch of rumors hitting the news wires the last few hours that in the next couple of days we may get some fresh headlines out of the EU about a complete ban on Russian import of oil. Again, in reality, probably not a big deal, but we all know reality doesn't exactly play in all the time, right? So that may definitely get this oil ripping higher, possibly right back to retest those range highs here. We'll talk about the game plan, but tomorrow we definitely know we have the oil report at 10:30 Eastern time. And then we go into a buffet of Fed speakers. We've got Daly, we've got Evans, and my boy, Bostic at 1 o'clock Eastern time. We definitely anticipate these to have an impact on these markets tomorrow. We heard from Evans today. We heard from Kashkari. We keep hearing from the Fed. And why does the Fed matter? Because, you know, normally we don't have to worry about the Fed so much. You know, this isn't something we normally have to pay attention to. But because of inflation, because the Fed has, well, I mean, just a few hours ago, we heard from Evans, and he was saying he wanted to see rates go up 2% this year. When are they going to do that? It's already almost the end of April, right? So they have to add in a couple more half percentage rate hikes on this. So we definitely are anticipating to see the markets really begin to, well, they're obsessed with everything about inflation right now, and the Fed, of course, is because of that. So we're definitely watching that closely for tomorrow. Those are some big known unknowns. For all I know, none of these will be a big factor, but I will be paying attention because they definitely can have a big market moving opportunity for tomorrow. So I'll tell you, when you combine the big moves that we saw today along with this big news peppering the day tomorrow, and then let's not forget the beige books at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So I'll tell you, definitely keep your lunch break short tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a day where I would imagine a lot of traders are going to try to make some money tomorrow, because as we go into Thursday, yeah, there's Dr. Doom right there, right? Jerome Powell at 11 o'clock. I don't mean it that bad, but oftentimes the day that Jerome Powell speaks can be a little bit of a pullback in volatility, right? So if there's a day to make our money, tomorrow is definitely the day. So keep your eyes on the prize tomorrow, and we'll get ready for Thursday in tomorrow night's video. Let's get back to our charts though. So lots of news here for tomorrow. Will we hear any updates out of the Fed? Will we hear anything out of the EU regarding any banning of Russian oil? Those are some known unknowns that we have here right now. Let's grab the charts here right now. Now, guys, let's cut to the chase. Whether you trade one of these markets, a good place to start if you're a new trader, or you trade all of these markets like we do in our trade room. We also trade gold in our trade room as well. Whether you trade one or you trade all of them, you're going to learn something new, something you can make money with throughout the entire video lesson here tonight. I'm going to go right on through S&P, Nasdaq, and crude oil. I'm gonna give you different pattern variations, trade variations, advanced tactics as we go deeper into this video. And you know how we roll here. I like to keep the best stuff for last, so I'll definitely make it worth your while if you stick around all the way to the end. All right, let's jump right in though. First on the S&P, what's the most important factor right now on the S&P? Boy, does this thing look like the oil last night, doesn't it? Doesn't this look like oil? It's obviously a little bit different, but the principles of this are almost identical to what we saw on crude oil just 24 hours ago. The S&P right now is definitely bullish, right? They're definitely bullish here. The key components, it's a bull market into a trading range, but we know that as the market goes up above that range, it's going to want to rotate down and take out that pendulum swing on the other side. Now, this normally wouldn't be that big of a deal. We would say, okay, well, we'll just buy, down off that low. And that definitely may be in the cards for tomorrow. But you have to put this in context. Just look at yesterday, right? There's a big range down here from yesterday. What's a range range. A range is a magnet. So this range, of course, right? Think about this. They would love to get this thing to rotate off this high and just keep on going back down into that trading range. That 4,400 big round number seems to be a very good objective, likely objective for these sellers as we go here. And then I think another big factor on this is go even wider. If you were here last week we talked about this big, huge range. And sure enough, look what's happening right now. We ran all the way up, and now we're rotating off this high. It doesn't seem, it seems completely reasonable right now. And again, we're very bullish, and so we'll look for confirmations. It seems completely reasonable right now, though, for a rotation back down to this low. This is one of the biggest reasons why I'm very excited for tomorrow, Wednesday's trading session on both the S&P and the Nasdaq. Now, here's one big difference on the S&P. The S&P, we've already kind of nestled into this area of resistance, which means if the buyers, again, this is a very bull market right now. So if the buyers get a breakout, there is a lot of blue sky opportunity overhead. Plenty. Look at the space overhead here that we have overhead. So breakout traders, breakouts, bull breakouts are there's not a lot standing in our way up there. Let's put it that way. Up around that 45-20 area. So there definitely is an option there for a breakout. But again, when you look at the chart right now, the most important factor on this chart is this trading range and the fact that we are above the range, rotating down off the high. You factor in that range below, you factor in the big juicy range from last week, and you start to kind of understand, ooh boy, this is going to be a little bit of a difficult place to buy right there, right? Talk about stepping in front of a possible freight train to be a buyer here. So definitely like the short side. I'm not afraid of the long side, but if I had to guess right now, I would guess the easier money would be on the sell side. Again, that's just kind of a guess. We'll see what we get here for tomorrow. So what do the buyers want to do right now? The buyers, right, they want to hold this area. They want to hold the pendulum swing. They want to hold that expanding triangle. Buyers would also love to see a big breakout, right? Big breakout going higher there. So buyers definitely have that opportunity. How about the sellers? The sellers have a buffet to work with here tomorrow. They can sell off the high. In fact, that would be a great short, right? Because then get that big move up, retest the high. This would be a great short for bears off the high. Sellers can also look for a breakdown. This is one of those examples like we saw on oil last night, where as we go lower, we may get one of those grind, right? Those kind of pop and grinds, making some nice shorts off that high. I also think, too, it is completely realistic to think we may drop and bounce off this trend line, bounce off this area, and be able to get some kind of mid-morning, late-morning follow-up trades off that kind of pop or, pop and bounce, if you will, right? Pop and pullback, as we call them sometimes here on this video. So lots of great trades we're setting up here for tomorrow. So as we go higher, let's kind of break this down here. The markets only move in two ways. So for example, let's say we take out those highs here. We're very bullish at this point. So how do I buy it? How do I sell it? If we take out this high, the key is going to be to trap in those buyers at the highs, this range. And to do that, I'm going to use one of those one try, two try failures to rope in some of those buyers at that high. And think about where their stops are going to be, right? Think about as we go up, buyers once, buyers twice. Think about where their stops are, and we can sell right back down using what I call a failure pattern. So we go back up. We take out that, right? We retest the high, which is not a huge. It wouldn't be surprising because again, it's a very strong move higher. So retest the high is definitely in the cards here for tomorrow. We'll see. This is a lot of momentum coming off the high right now. At this point, the buyers still have control of this market, so we let them try twice up at these highs. We think about where their stops are, and we look for a way now to get short into those stop losses. Now remember, at this point, your job isn't over yet. At this point now, as the market begins to roll lower, we can now start looking for channels. We can mark off a channel off the low. We can mark off that channel off the high. And one of my favorite trades here is to grab that first test off the high of that channel. This is oftentimes a trap or a failure pattern or a pullback combination as we go back down. And where do you think we're trying to go from there? Again, I think that range below us acts like a great magnet. I love the idea of a failure right off that high. I love the idea of a trap setup, a failure setup, or a pullback combination setup off the first test of that channel. Now, you guys know how much I love the first test, right? I know most of you guys and gals, you've taken the free trading course. You know how we find those first test channels, and you know the rules. You know when to take them, when to skip them, because that's important, right? When to skip the wrong trades. If you're watching for the first time tonight and you haven't taken that free class yet to learn the setups, learn all the rules, you got to grab the free course. What I'll do is I'll put a link up here for you in the upper right-hand corner. That will give you a great roadmap to follow. If you're like me and you hate missing the best trades each day, or you're sick and tired of taking so many losses or making mental mistakes, grab that free course. It'll pop up there. That'll give you the same roadmap we follow every morning in our trade room. You'll learn all my favorite entry setups, the rules, so you know when to take them and when to skip them, so you can start getting that account growing again on your own. And more importantly, you'll have the game plan ready for when you come join us every morning and trade with us here in the trade room. So again, grab that link in the upper right hand corner. That way, the next time I say to try failure into that first test is the best test, you'll know exactly which setups to use, the rules we use, the time frames we use, and you'll be ready to go for tomorrow. Now, as we go higher here, how would I get a breakout? What would a breakout look like? If we go higher, how do I buy it up here? Well, you have to remember where we are. Again, this is a major top of that trading range, and it's also going to range right below us. So as we go higher here, these buyers have to hold a pullback. If they can hold a pullback, remember, didn't do it here, right? Got to do it here though. Got to hold that pullback. If they can hold the pullback and give me a jump. Okay, we call these 1, 2, 3 breakouts. If they can give me a breakout or a strong pop up, take out that high, hold the pullback and jump, now we can go out and we can trade this as basically a new trend. Now, as the market jumps off that moving average, just simply draw a new channel. Trending markets love to use channels. So draw that channel right off the highs, bring it right down off that low. Again, I always like to drill down to a faster time frame, find some of those prior swings, get underneath some of those prior swings that will also get you underneath the moving average. That's where your traps are. That's where your failures are, right? As the bears come in and try to short it. At that point now, this 1, 2, 3 breakout is just simply too much, right? It's just simply too much momentum now. It's not a time to be selling anymore. It's time to be trapping in those bears for those failures, right, to run higher. Now, where would my target be on this? Okay, I know what I want to do. I want to wait for that trap, failure, pullback, that first test off that channel. Where's my target going to be? Remember, first leg, third leg. Okay, trending markets love to go 1 leg, pull back, 2 leg, pull back. They love to make 3 legs. Okay, the middle leg is usually the oddball. It's that first leg and third leg. In most cases, there will always be an exception. There'll always be some runaway trend where, it breaks all the rules. But the vast majority of the time, first leg and third leg are where you want to be looking for that target. We definitely have an idea of where they want to go, 45.15, 45.19, but think about that first leg and third leg. Another breakout I could easily see, and we'll cover a few more in the Nasdaq. Another breakout would be, let's just say, again, we have a lot of news. We get a lot of news tomorrow. This is a really strong run. Let's say, for example, these bears are trapped, right? And they're stuck on the wrong side, and we see a real strong shot higher. Strong move, shallow pullback, higher high in price, traps, baby. This is a great breakout pattern as well. We call these 2-try breakouts. On this one, though, the key is the strength of that first leg. Okay, on a 1, 2, 3 breakout, the key is the strength of that third leg, right? That's the most important leg. On this one, though, it's got to go pop, right? It's really got to go. It's got to go real pop, right? Nice and strong. Strong move up, shallow pullback, higher high in price. Grab that, right? Grab that trap. Okay, grab that trap. You'll notice though, these patterns are not bulletproof. You can see one right here, right? That is a strong move up. That's a shallow pullback. That's a higher high. Why didn't that one work? Well, because there's a range right below you, right? That's not going to be enough. And again, we've got that big high up here, right? We've got to clear this area, right? We've got to like I said, this pop here has to be very, very aggressive. Usually it'll be a very emotional market, right? There'll be a bunch of FOMO in the market. It'll really start popping. All right. So keep an eye on that breakout. I'm going to talk about one more breakout pattern, the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq, I think, is better right for a slightly different breakout plan. We'll talk about that here in a second. As we go lower here, if we go lower, okay, we talked about how to short this thing off the high, how to buy that breakout. As we go lower, boy, there are so many different ways we can trade this going lower. I'll cover a few of them here, and we'll go over the Nasdaq and cover more there. The one that really worked well on oil from last night was the pop and grind, right? Where it kind of pops down, it begins to grind down. Now, when that happens, simply draw a trend line off that low, bring it up around that high, and simply wait for that first pullback. Get above a prior swing for your traps. Use that moving average to trap in the buyers with a failure, and then again hit that first pullback off the EMA for that next leg lower. Remember, first leg, third leg, very, very common to be a measured move. Definitely keep in mind, right, this trend line coming up with that range below as a magnet. I really like this short, right? Again, you see why. We saw this exact same thing happen on the crude oil from last night's video. Another one you want to keep in mind, then we'll go to the Nasdaq here. Another one you want to keep in mind would be, let's say we get down to that pendulum swing, we pull back now, and we blast right on through. That is exactly that 1, 2, 3 reversal, or 1, 2, 3 breakout. What do you do in that situation? You mark off that low, you mark off that high, you find those prior swings, you grab those traps, those failures, and those pullbacks as we go, right? Another way to sell it short. But how do we buy it? How do we buy it off the low? And what if we just collapse down? How do we trade that? Let's talk about that in the Nasdaq, okay? Because the Nasdaq is very, very similar to this as well. Let's keep this rolling. A lot of what we'll talk about tonight will be kind of interchangeable on the Nasdaq. The one thing about the Nasdaq, though, is you'll notice right away, there's not a lot of space there for a breakout. What's the most important factor right now on the Nasdaq? The Nasdaq, just like the S&P, has a very strong run up into a trading range. And just like the S&P, it made that strong breakout, and now we're rotating back down off of this high. And like I mentioned on the S&P, when you put this into context, again, we have a nice strong rotation coming off that high, but you begin to realize, well, wait a second, there's a range down here too. That will act like a magnet if this thing can keep going. And then you look left and you go, wait a second. Oh yes, that's right. We're all the way at the top of this big trading range. That is definitely a big part of this as well. So we're in an area where it would make perfect sense for this market to completely collapse, right? And make that run back down again. Now, I will also say it's pretty easy to see that the S&P, again, S&P made it all the way up into those areas of resistance. Look at the S&P real quickly here. Again, the S&P dug right into those highs, right? So you could easily say the S&P kind of completed its mission to retest those highs. Is it safe to say the Nasdaq maybe hasn't yet? Right? The Nasdaq may have some more space to run up here. Okay, and this is, I think, a great opportunity. So I think for tomorrow it might be a little more difficult to break out, right? But I think there's still wide open space up there, or wide open opportunity for us here for that short off the high here. Okay, that I think is a very big part of this, because you'll notice, right? The S&P if the S&P can break that high, they've got blue skies ahead. Look at the Nasdaq. That's not blue skies right now. If they can break through all those levels of resistance, then we've got open space, and then we have a range magnet around 14,500. But that seems to be a pretty big ask, at least for right now. Again, we got some big news tomorrow. That home sales number at 10 o'clock Eastern time. It's definitely something we'll be watching here closely for tomorrow and see if this momentum shifts here. I think we have the same, pretty much the same basic idea here on the Nasdaq. As I go up and hopefully take out these highs, this would be a great trade short, right? As we go up into these highs, and again, it could be off the high at what, 241. It could be off the trend line high. It could be off of the 96. There's a lot of levels of resistance, right? You get my point. So we're trying to go back up, big move up, right? Big move today. It makes perfect sense. They may try to make a run back to these highs. And once they do, this is exactly where we can look for that 1, 2, trap in those buyers, sell into those stops, and then again, grab that new channel and don't miss that short coming off that high. That 2 try failure. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, we'll drill down, we'll find our trap, our failure, our pullback combination. This is a 4,000 tick chart, okay? So we're not trading off that in the trade room, right? We'll trade off a much faster time frame. You're going to learn about that stuff in that free video course that I mentioned earlier. The breakout up here, right? The breakout up here is a lot more difficult than the S&P. So as we go higher, just a simple 1, 2, 3 breakout may not be enough, right? It may not be enough. I think a 2 try breakout up here is a very dangerous trade. I will probably not be looking for that type of setup as we go into this area. Now, obviously, if we blow right through it, then clearly we can pretty much use anything, right? But I would think that we're going to have to get up. These buyers are going to have to hold the pullback up here somewhere inside of that major area of resistance, and they're going to have to show us they really want this going higher. Right, because in my eyes, if they break if they break up into that area, that's exactly where those 2 try failures really come in handy. Okay, so I'm really going to be careful buying that first pullback. But if they can hold that pullback and jump, then we have that 1, 2, 3 breakout, right? Like we talked about before, I can mark that high, I can mark that low, and I could definitely buy that first pullback, right? Just be careful though with like a 1, 2, 3 like this. You know what I mean? Be careful with that move. This one right here seems like it's not quite enough. You know what I mean? The buyers are coming in. That's great. But what I really want is I want to get up into this area. Then buyers, now show me you've got the muscle to push through it. Okay? Because if we don't, it's going to probably end up right back down to that low. I do think a pop and grind breakout would be appropriate up here. Let's say, for example, we pop up and we start to grind, right? And grind. If we get that pop and grinds are a really, really big clue because the grind is what gives it away. Okay, what is a grind? How do you create a grind? A grind is a short squeeze in this context. Okay, those are not buyers buying shallow pullbacks. Like right here, that grind right there. Okay, those are not buyers buying that. Those are bears who got short from last week getting out of their positions. That's what causes that grind, right? That's what causes it. Okay, because buyers wouldn't be buying up there. Buyers will wait to buy the pullback. So it's an easy giveaway when you see a pop and grind. A pop and grind, what does it do? It basically says all the sellers that were worried about up here are now gone. Well, maybe not gone, but there aren't as many. And so usually that will result in that new channel. Market nice and tight off the high. Do not make that mistake and go, oh, let's find a big channel. And no. Don't do that. Okay, draw it right up off that high. Find that big channel low and then grab that first test. What you've got to remember on this is that when you get those strong moves like that in one direction, it's almost a guarantee we retest the high. Anytime we see a strong move in one direction, it's almost a guarantee we're going to retest that high. Okay, that's why I like this particular setup. If it pops and grinds, the pop is good, but the grind confirms, okay, the bears are, for whatever reason, they're a little bit timid now, right? They're not as strong as we thought they might be. And now that first pullback, everyone's going to want that first pullback. And again, I say first pullback. It's the first test. This oftentimes will be well below the moving average, right? And this is one of the reasons why I draw my channels backwards like this, to trap in sellers now who think this pullback is a reversal. Right? So again, it could be a trap, it could be a failure, a pullback combo. I'm not going to go over all those details in this video, but you will get a full rundown of that inside the free course. And of course, we'll trade that stuff together tomorrow morning in our trade room. All right, as we go lower, now we talked about how this is almost a mirror, almost a carbon copy of the oil from last night, how it rolls over and how it may start to grind down. That is a fantastic short. Love that short. I would also keep in mind too, and again, we mentioned this in the S&P too, if it pulls back and blasts going lower, again, find that new channel, right? And look for that short off the high of that channel. Another one you want to keep in mind would be, let's just say, for example, this thing just collapses, right? It runs straight down to that trend line and then bounces, okay? These kind of pop and pullbacks, if you will. If that happens, remember, it's a very strong move down, right? And so you can see I got the channel going on here. If I kind of move that off there for a second, let's say it just collapses and runs lower and then pops nice and hard, right? Which makes sense. This trend line coming up here, prior high, it can be used as support. This could be a good profit target for anybody who got short up here. So the market does kind of, panic drop like that and then bounce hard off that area. There's your new channel right off that high. And the key here is, again, trap set up off the high. Buyers come in, try to buy it. No. We are not a bull market right now. We are bearish with a strong move down. Odds are very good. We retest that low. Trap, failure, pullback combo for that next leg going lower here. Okay, this will also apply to the S&P. I think the S&P has even more open space for that type of setup as we go tomorrow. And then what you can definitely anticipate is, let's say, for example, the market gives you that pop and grind. We get that move up and through. Think about now how this trend line becomes your best friend, right? What was support can now be used as resistance for another follow-up trade there. So I love the idea of the short off the trend line, off the hidden channels. And then if we can get a nice, remember, anytime you see a strong run in one direction, just find your levels of resistance. I love this trend line to be used here, and we can use that for a short as we go back down as well. All right. So a lot of ways we can sell this market right now. We do have a breakout. One last thing here on the Nasdaq. How would we buy down here? What do you think the best way is to buy here? Okay, so when it comes to getting long, it's all about momentum, right? Momentum is the key here. So whenever we rotate off the high, one of my kind of hard and fast rules is I try to make sure I always complete the pendulum swing. I always want to buy at a support level. Okay, so support level right now will be the pendulum swing, 1, or this trend line, 2. And because we have all this momentum coming off the high, and again, this will also apply to the S&P 500, what you want to think about is, just like we need to get that 1, 2 back down, this is exactly where you want to see a 1, 2 back up. In fact, this is even more important to get it because of that rotation off the high. This is a lesson that most of us learn the expensive way. We want to buy a support area below a trading range because the range is a magnet. That's in theory the way it works. However, in reality, when it goes up and rotates down, that momentum coming off that high, that's why I was so confident in the short side on oil today, was because this momentum of the high makes it very difficult to fight this. We see a lot of times where it'll make that roll lower. You'll see the bears come in, they'll try to get short. And you do not want to buy. You do not want to buy that failure pattern because this is almost always a trap for another leg lower. Again, I had marked up that kind of channel coming down, right? That trap for that short going lower here. So long story short, whether we're buying in this area 1, 2 back up, or we're buying off the trend line, right? And then 1, 2. let's put it this way though. If we go all the way at this area, I'm not, again, not my favorite trade in the world, but if we can get the bears trying once, get the bears trying twice, I think there's a very good chance here now we get that trend line right coming off of that. We go back up into retesting that high and we make it that 1, 2 back down from there. These are some long trades to keep in mind. And of course we talk about the buy side there as well. If we end up all the way down to this trend line, it's a little bit different story now. At this point now, really the ideal scenario is I would want to see it go up, come back down, retest that low, and then 1, 2 back up. Why? Why is that? Well, because at that point now, we've already broken the pendulum swing. We're pretty much headed back to that range at that point. There's obviously a support level here, and there's a hope the buyers may take it. But if we end up all the way back down to this trend line, it doesn't look good for the buyers. And so because of that, we have to anticipate the bears will come in. They're going to want to sell that pullback like we just talked about. And then once they get that retest, right? Once they retest that low, then we know the bears have made their money. There's no more bears waiting to sell more, right? They've already got their short already taken. And now we can rope in any of the rookie bears, use their stops as gasoline, and run it back up into that trading range. All right. Does that make sense? If it does, let me know in the comment section. Give me a hell yeah in the comment section. This is a really important difference, right? If I'm at the pendulum swing, the range is still in play. And I can just simply use a 2-try failure because the range is still in play. I'm still at an area of support below a bull market into a trading range. But if I end up all the way down here, then at this point now you have to think there are going to be a lot of bears who are going to be trying to come in and short this thing. So the idea of 1, 2, oh boy, that does not sit well for me whatsoever. This could easily be a trap. Wait, next leg low, that next leg lower. But again, if they can go back and retest that low, right, and then we hold 1, 2. Now that is a trade I can get excited about. Because now the bears have already spent their bullets, right? There's probably not many more left up there, okay? These are all rookies now selling into that move, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. That makes more sense for the long side going lower, all right? Again, we'll see what we get here for tomorrow. Looking good. S&P done. Nasdaq done. Should we keep it going on some oil? How about some oil here for tomorrow? Well, I'll tell you, oil, what's the most important factor right now on the crude oil? Big move down. We definitely anticipated this. This is something we definitely kind of expected. For the most part, there weren't any real meaningful pullbacks. For day traders, sure. We had plenty. But for the bigger players in the market, the ones who actually move these markets, there really wasn't much of a, we really didn't spend any time above the moving average. So when I see a big move like this, the first thing I think of is, oh my goodness, there has to be so many big lot traders who would love to get some sort of deep pullback right now. The bottom line is, anytime we see a big move in one day, we know the following day will probably be a range, which you can see developing right now, or a deep pullback. And really, we could get both. We could see a range and a deep pullback. What you want to think about in this kind of context is there needs to be we need to get some more news, or something needs to change the perception of this price to have people want to keep selling down here. You know what I mean? There needs to be, something has to change for bears to go, oh my goodness, really? Okay, let's sell some more now. Okay, because most people, most professionals are going to look at this chart right now and they're going to say, I'm not going to sell way down here. This is way too low for me to want to sell. But I'll tell you, if you got up in here or up in here, I would love to sell up there, right? And so we have to get price up off this low to attract more bears into this market. That's the way I look at this right now. And also too, anytime we have a really strong move in one direction, what do we expect? We expect a deep pullback and a retest of that low. So that's the most important factor right now. This range is irrelevant at this point. But I did mention earlier, remember I said earlier, there are some rumors going around about maybe a little boycott or a banning of Russian oil throughout the EU. I thought they had already done that, but apparently it was just a spotty. I'm not sure. We are watching that closely right now. That is obviously something we don't know everything about just yet. But, like I mentioned earlier, reality has nothing to do with it. There's no shortage of oil. There's so much oil on this planet. I mean, we have so much supply of it. None of this is because of reality. It's all because of perception of supply chain issues, and I'm sure a little bit of gambling on top of that with stimulus money. I'm sure has done a pretty good trick on that. So the reality is no matter what the reality is, if we do see some headlines about banning Russian oil, et cetera, I could easily see a reversal back up into that trading range. But let me talk about what the game plan is, because you'll see in a moment here kind of why that may not be that easy. So, big move down. What you want to think about right now is you need to get a relatively deep pullback or some new information to attract bears into the market. So what do the bears want to do? The bears want to sell in this trap zone. The bears want to sell in this area. What do the buyers want to do? The bears can also sell as we go lower too, because we're now right around that 100 round number. That's our next kind of big psychological area there. We make a lot of moves from 110 to 105 to 100, back and forth we go. How about the buyers right now? Buyers have to be very careful here. They can be very careful getting roped into a pullback right now. This is exactly where, right when it smells like a reversal, is chances are right when the big money bears are coming back into this market here. So buyers really have to be careful. We'll talk about the type of reversal that I'm going to trust the most here in a moment. So buyers, really careful on that. Probably the best way to be a buyer right now would be a double bottom reversal off of this low. You know what I mean? Let the bears get their money out of it. Retest that low, and then we can rope in those bears, those inexperienced sellers down at that low. That seems like the lower hanging fruit right now for the buyers, unless, of course, they can get a reversal going higher. Now, in these big move scenarios, there are three types of pullbacks that you want to keep in mind for tomorrow. You ready? These are really important. There's a trend line coming up on this low. And so if we get a shallow pullback right now, let me zoom in on this a little bit closer here for you so we can get you guys the good stuff. If we see a shallow pullback right now, shallow pullbacks do not accomplish the goal of attracting more bears in the market. Would you agree? Right? A shallow pullback, unless, again, something changes overnight, a shallow pullback does not achieve getting the price high enough to really attract the big money in. So how do we make money in a shallow pullback? We have to trap in the buyers. Let the buyers try once, let them try twice, and that is exactly what you want. On a shallow pullback, you want a trap setup. This will also double dip, right? It has a double benefit because that trend line coming up as well. Okay, so in other words, we can't expect a lot of bears to be interested in that shallow pullback. So we have to use basically the buyer's stop losses as gasoline or fuel to run back down again. Okay, shallow pullback, think of it this way. In a big move down, a shallow pullback requires a trap. If I can get a modest pullback, up into this area, up into the high of this channel, now we're on to something. Now, hopefully, that'll be enough to give those buyers a reason to think we're buying for a reversal. That opens them up to their stops getting run. And those stops are going to be what we want to hit to get this price going back lower, hitting that buyer failure into that pullback combination and that move going lower, right? Again, wait for that modest pullback. Get those buyers to come in, try to buy the pullback again, right when it starts to kind of smell like it might be reversing. One of the giveaways is usually going to be it starts to accelerate as it goes higher. That's always kind of an easy, when I was a rookie, anytime I saw it really accelerate, I go, oh, they're reversing, right? Try to buy that for, no, they're not reversing. Okay, the reason why it's accelerating like that is because there aren't as many bears in these open spaces, right? So it ends up snapping up. Buyers get caught on it, and of course, the price collapses back down again. So a failure into a pullback, back for a retest of that low. Does that make sense, right? Now, one more pullback, and this is the one we all kind of hope for, and that is get up into this area overhead, that kind of 105.22. Okay, a deep pullback. Deep pullbacks are money, but the cost of a deep pullback is momentum. So what you want to do is if we get a deep pullback now, this is exactly where you use that one, that two, that failure, right? Two try failure, because again, it's a deeper pullback into that first test is the best test. This is exactly the scenario you want to use that for. And we've talked about this a couple times already, right? Two try failure. Again, we're very bearish, but when it really pulls back, a good rule of thumb on this, if it gets above that channel, okay, oftentimes the buyers will come in and they'll try to buy off the top of that channel. It's very common. And so we'll look for those buyers to try twice. Think about now where their stops are, and we're simply selling it back down, right? Ultimately back down into that range and back down to retest those lows. We then grab that first test. Again, this could be a trap, a pullback, right, or a failure setup off of that channel high. Now, how do we buy it as it goes higher? We buy it as it goes higher with one of those short squeezes. This is exactly the scenario where a short squeeze will come in handy. There are really, again, we've already mentioned this a couple times already, but imagine now they pop up, they accelerate, but now instead of buyers trying a couple times and failing, now we start to grind and go higher. Yeah, so that's a dead giveaway. Something has changed. This range above us is a magnet now. We're probably going to try to make a run back up to retest the high. There'll usually be some headlines that will happen, right? Something will happen that will change the perception of this market. We mark up that high, we mark up that low, we drill down to our faster time frame, we get under prior swings, we get under the moving average, we grab those traps, those failures, and those pullback combos. Where's our objective at this point? Where's our target? Well, first of all, anytime we see a big move up like this, we know a retest of that high is an easy objective. We also know the first leg and the third leg are almost always symmetrical. And the range overhead is a good target, right? Good magnet. And the big objective, of course, is that big high at 109.20. So as we pull back, be very careful with that reversal. I'd be very careful seeing it pop up, getting the buyers trying to jump off right like that. That's not going to be enough of a 1, 2, 3. We're going to have to get up into this area, actually get those buyers to come in, hold it, and go from there. That is the type of reversal we need right now. Really get up into these areas of resistance where we know we're going to see some bears coming in. And if they can't hold at that point, now we've got that new channel and we can go buy that first pullback from there. All right, so keep that in mind. Remember, in these types of big moves, right when it feels like a reversal is usually when it's time to get short. It usually is, right? So kind of write that down in your journal and keep that ready for tomorrow. Another way to do this would be, again, if we go back down to retest that low, now we've got that big move down, right? Big move down. We've retested that low. This is exactly where that 1, 2 failure comes into play. At this point now, we've already, and we talked about this in the Nasdaq a few minutes ago, right? Where we have, strong move, let them retest, right? That way all the bears, right, they've all spent their ammunition now. These are just now the rookies down here. These are the inexperienced traders selling into those lows. They're way too late. They don't have big accounts to protect themselves. And all those stops now, right, are sitting right above that high. We can now look for that failure pattern. And then on these ones, what happens most of the time is they're going to target that high. So what you can do is go grab a new channel, right? A new channel here, grab that first pullback and trade the turn, right? So 2 try failure off that low and then trap failure pullback right off the new channel. Where's the objective? Absolutely back up to retest the high. This may turn into one big trading range right around that 103. Okay, some scenarios to consider here to be a buyer off of this low. What if we keep going lower? What if we keep going lower? If we keep going lower, great. Really any of the breakout patterns we talk about will work on this, right? A 1, 2, 3 breakout going down will work fantastic. Find that new channel, take that first test, first leg, third leg is your objective. Okay, or we may see a strong move down, a shallow pullback, a lower low in price. Traps, baby, right? That's definitely one we can look for there as we go lower. Again, we have a pretty good idea of where the market wants to go. Or maybe it keeps on grinding, right? Maybe it pops and grinds as we go. Mark up that channel off those lows. Find that hidden channel. Look for those traps, right? And hit them off the high of that channel. First leg, third leg, right, becomes your objective. All right, guys, so wrapping things together here as we finish up this video here tonight. Hopefully we'll get that nice big bounce. Right? Get the nice big bounce, rope in those buyers, and bring it right back down again. Watch the short squeeze. Again, we've got some rumors circulating right now. Might be a little more information coming out overnight. We'll see what happens. Be ready for that here tomorrow as well. All right, guys. Now, speaking of tomorrow is where the good stuff happens, right? We're coming back to work tomorrow morning in our trade room. We've planned our trades tonight. Now we're going to go out and we're going to trade our plan for tomorrow. We open up every day, 8 o'clock Eastern time in our trade room. If you're looking for a great place to learn, to trade along with us, great place to do it in our trade room. I'll put all the membership links, all the free course links. I'll put all that stuff you guys need in the description of the YouTube video. So grab that. Don't be afraid to call the office. If you guys have any questions along the way, we've got comments, of course, in the comment section below and live chat down in the lower right-hand corner. All right, guys, hope you learned a lot here tonight. I apologize. The video has been a little bit late here this week. It's been a really busy kind of first couple days back after a break. But as always, we'll finish up strong here. Now, get some rest. Tomorrow, of course, is a busy day. Remember, tomorrow, got pretty much news all day tomorrow. Looking forward to a pretty good day tomorrow in our trade room. Hopefully, I'll see you with me tomorrow morning. If not, you better come back tomorrow night and we'll do it all again. Same time, same place, same great stuff here in this video newsletter. My name is Joseph. Be well out there. Be nice to each other, will you? And be here next time. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.